Hello, Toastmasters. I have a question I'd like to ask you, and while it may sound strange, I'm not expecting any of you to answer it. The question is, have you ever contemplated suicide? I have, on several occasions. Unfortunately, I was able to battle through the pain and not create a long-term solution to a short-term problem. And in most cases, that's what suicide is. A long-term solution to a short-term problem. Suicide doesn't end the pain, it multiplies it and passes it on to the family and the friends that are left behind. Suicide creates questions that can never be answered, guilt that can never be relieved, and emotional wounds that will never heal. I know this to be true because I have family and friends who've committed suicide and threatened it. Chances are you do too. And tonight I'm going to speak about two of the suicide-related experiences that I've been involved in. And one of the reasons that I'm doing so is to start to heal the wounds that these experiences created. The first experience I'm going to talk about happened 10 years ago on a Friday night. A member of my family was distraught over the breakup with his girlfriend. He called to tell me that he was on the side of a mountain and getting ready to jump. And then he hung up. I don't have words to tell you the panic that I felt in my body that moment. My girlfriend and I jumped out of bed. We got dressed as fast as we could, got in my car and headed down the road as fast as we could go. I had tears pouring from my eyes and I could barely see the road. My girlfriend was begging and pleading me, please slow down, you're gonna kill us. But I couldn't because I was deathly afraid that if I did, we wouldn't get there in time. Frantic, I kept calling him again and again and again. Sometimes I got through and sometimes I got the busy signal. On the times that I did get through, what I heard was him sobbing uncontrollably. I begged and pleaded for him to tell us where he was. But each time he would just hang up. I'd call back, busy signal, get him sobbing. Fortunately, after dozens of calls, he relented and he told us that he was at Thunderbird Park. We were only 15 minutes away, but I can tell you honestly it was the longest 15 minutes of my life. I had no idea if we'd make it in time. Fortunately, that night was like a fairy tale. It did have a happy ending. And by the grace of God, that family member survived and he's doing well. But the truth of the matter is that even when they survive, a part of you still dies. And I can tell you that that night a part of me did die. The next experience I want to tell you about happened just this past Easter. It was a beautiful day. I was in my backyard. And all of a sudden I heard a sound coming from the road that ran beside my house. When I went to investigate, I was startled to see that there was a man laying in the middle of the road, curled up in the fetal position. Next to him was a motorcycle, parked upright and still running. And next to him on the ground was a rock about the size of a grapefruit. As I ran to offer my assistance, I tried to figure out what in the hell had just happened here. Had the man hit the rock and been knocked off his bike? Had someone thrown the rock at him and knocked him off the bike? Neither of those scenarios worked though because the bike was parked and upright. When I reached the man, I bent over to offer my assistance and I noticed immediately that his hands and arms were covered in blood. I did a double take and I noticed that he had a knife in one hand and another knife lay on the ground beside him. I knew immediately this had not been an accident. Instinctively, I grabbed for both knives. And he sat up with a start and let me know with no uncertain terms that he was not going to let me take that knife. I took a deep breath, reassured him that I wouldn't try and take the knives. Instead, I wanted to make a connection, one human being to another. I reached out and took his hand, the one that was not holding the knife, and I asked him his name. He told me it was Ken. Ken then told me he had just been in an altercation with his wife, and that he was not going back to prison. Instead, he said he was going to take his own life. I took a deep breath. I started to try to give him reasons to live. But each time I did so, he reiterated, I'm not going back to prison. Ken laid back down. A moment later, he sat back up and he lifted his t-shirt, which revealed a gaping wound in his chest that was pumping blood. Oh my God, he had just stabbed himself in the chest. I knew I had to do something soon or he was going to bleed to death. But I was afraid that if I called 911, it might make him angry, and then I had no idea what he might do. I felt like I had no choice. I called 911. And as I was afraid, it did make him angry. He jumped up, grabbed the knives, grabbed the rock, ran 50 feet to my driveway and laid back down. Thinking he might be growing weak and ready to accept my assistance. I was startled to see him take the knife and use the rock to drive it deep into his chest. Thinking that was surely the end of Ken. I was startled to see him pull the knife from his chest, get up and start running down the road as if nothing had happened. How is this even possible? This isn't a movie. A moment later, the police cruiser went screaming by us and stopped within a few feet of where Ken was standing. Two policemen jumped out, guns drawn, and ordered Ken to put down the knives. He refused, made a half-hearted lunge at them, and they opened fire, shooting him 6 or 7 times. I watched helplessly his lifeless body hit the ground. Suicide by cop. Even though I'd only known Ken for about 10 minutes before his death, when he died, part of me died with him. What I want to leave you with tonight is if you ever find yourself in pain in a situation that seems like suicide would be a viable option, please consider the devastating effect that your death would have on your family and friends. Reach out, ask for help. Call a friend. Call a crisis line. Don't create a long-term solution to a short-term problem. Do whatever it takes to battle through the pain. Don't pass your pain on to the people that you love. They don't deserve it.